I'm the community cop. Oh, look who we got here.
Welcome to another edition of Community Cop. I'll be your host today. My name is Michael Graves, co-founding member of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. And we have Father Lucas in the house.
On tap.
Our other co-hosts are not here today, Noel Leader and Julian Harper on Community Cop assignment. So we'll see them next week and hope everything works out well in their endeavors. But at this time, we want to open up by talking about the People's Film Festival. The People's Film Festival is done none other than our own producer, Veronica Kitt, who's been brilliant over the years. She has an opening. Not only is it opening night at the film festival on May 28th, but there's a film that she wants to highlight in particular. So let's take a quick look at They Die by Dawn. This is the opening night of the People's Film Festival in Harlem.
We all from the same place. We all bad men.
Last man standing. Collect bounty on all who fall.
Got to have a price on your head to play.
You mean to tell me there's $100,000 sitting at this table?
All you need to know is you're gonna die.
And I'm gonna be the one that puts a bullet through his skull.
When my hand touch my gun, all bets are off.
You'll talk a hell of a lot for a man who's about to die.
I'm gonna count to 3. Then I'm coming out blasted.
I would like to see you put a bullet in my head. 3, 2. Don't do it!
My plan is simple. Kill him.
Well then, this time, don't miss.
Wow, that was They Die by Dawn, and that's an all-black, it looks like an all-black movie, and as you can see, the talent is there, and good to see Isaiah Washington. His career has not been destroyed, and that he's still working. So let's get started. From the outset, there are two notable people in our history that we would be remiss if we didn't mention. And I'll start by, tomorrow will be the birthday of Joe Louis, 5/13/1914. Father Lucas, when somebody says Joe Louis to you or the Brown Bomber, what comes to mind?
Watching him. He was a great fighter, but I truly believe he wasn't a real heavyweight. He was a lightweight, but he was beating light heavy, but he was beating heavyweights. Naturally, I'm not going to compare him with Muhammad Ali. That was the greatest heavyweight champion I'll ever see. But I think his attitude in those days also was to be a good boy. And he didn't displease white folks. In fact, I was very disappointed when the whole take on one fight, he took $1 and gave the rest to the army, who at that time were not even accepting. And then because the Navy complained, the next fight he took $1 and gave the rest to the Navy. And guess what, as a Thanksgiving? The government held him accountable for taxes on the gifts he gave to the Army and the Navy. And that's why he died pretty broke.
Right.
And it was very interesting that the man whom, when he knocked out Max Schmeling, and we went crazy in Harlem, that it was Max Schmeling who paid for his funeral.
Yeah, Max Schmeling came over here and became an entrepreneur, a millionaire.
Yeah.
I think he had, I think it was Coca-Cola or somebody. He had several factories and had some type of work done with some soda company and became a millionaire.
Yeah, but you would think...
A Nazi.
Well, I have to give him credit. Well, everybody loved Joe Louis when he had money. When he got broke, so many of his, quote, friends disappeared. And it was Max Schmeling who paid for his funeral.
And he was a great boxer, you know, to those who don't hear him, because, you know, some people are inundated with certainly Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and so many others are now, you know, Money Mayweather. But Joe Louis was a great fighter in his own right. Up to that date, he followed, you know, Jack Johnson as the second heavyweight champ of the world. And certainly while he carried it good in the ring, there were things outside of the ring that Father Lucas mentioned where he did things to bring himself closer to whites and was not in system challenging mode. So it takes away from him in that regard. But he did make America proud when he won that Schmeling fight, and when he fought in front of, you know, and had on the opposite side, you know, Hitler looking, you know, and things like that, for him to disprove that myth of white supremacy to Hitler, you know, was grand in America. Toasted him at that moment, but certainly, as Father Lucas pointed out, later on, you know, the armed services and the government taxed him and put penalties and compounded his fees and all that stuff daily, and it reached an insurmountable number. And then when he had to fight for the championship and had to pay, what's the white guy? He paid 10% of his salary for the rest of his life just to fight the white champion. So it was just a whole lot of dirt that happened that America should be ashamed for. And he became a greeter in the Vegas hotel, and that's how he made ends meet. And that was set up by Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra, who did commercials, big commercials, made sure that the money went to Joe Louis. He didn't even accept the money. He sent it to Joe, and you know, Joe, had it not been for Frank Sinatra, he'd have been in a terrible mess.
I was just shocked when you had the gall to mention Mike Tyson in the same breath as Muhammad Ali.
Well, yeah, no doubt. But I'm just saying that people are inundated. Some people have short memories, and when they think of great heavyweight champs, certainly they'll think of Mike Tyson.
All he was though was a slugger. He couldn't box,
right? And
that's why Holyfield gave him boxing lessons
when he met somebody who wasn't afraid of him.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah. And the other thing, briefly on this date. DSK, the DSK rape case. This is the anniversary of that happened in 5/14.
Well, that shows the depravity of the so-called justice system. If you or I were guilty, were accused of rape, our butts would be in jail immediately.
So
And
you're
we'd
saying
go through.
that there was some misappropriation of justice relative to the Manhattan District Attorney for a grand jury coming back with a true bill and then him suspending it?
Yeah.
Illegally suspending it?
Yeah, I love that term, misappropriation of justice.
There's a lot of that now in history.
Yes, but you know, they just let him walk.
They let a white man walk after the grand jury found that it was enough to take this to trial. A white man, a rich white man who was running for president in France and the former director of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and he was able to walk without the sister Diallo having her day in court.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if she ultimately got any money, but that
Yes,
would
she did.
be-
She did.
Yeah,
It was a settlement
but
out of
that
court.
was irrelevant, the fact that you saw how the, quote, justice system works.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's get started. Point number one. Marilyn Zemingo, a school teacher, I think, in Orange, New Jersey, she had her students write a letter to Mumia Abu-Jamal. And certainly we know that this is a Christian nation. And as a Christian nation, Mumia Abu-Jamal was sick. It looked like he was dying. It looked like he's being set up for death. And certainly Christians are more compassionate, I imagine, than everybody else. They're supposed to be extremely compassionate. So what was wrong, and why is the state of New Jersey contemplating firing her for her students sending get well soon and things like that to a person who's close to death?
Well, of course, you know who the governor of the state is, so you wouldn't expect
Christie.
anything. Yes, you wouldn't expect anything different. I certainly, the more, this has never been, and at least until I kick the bucket, it will never be a Christian nation, no matter how many lies that they say, just like they tell you it's a democracy, you know. Christians are not supposed to act the way Jersey is acting, the way Christie's town is acting. They should give her a medal for this man who was, if you follow the case, which I know you did, totally innocent, and now he's ill, and she has her class send him some get well card, and that's a crime. She deserved to be fired. It's insane.
Now, she went outside the curriculum, and we don't know what she violated, but they're saying something along the lines of writing to, let's say hypothetically, an outside agencies. Now, you know yourself that sometimes classrooms send letters to the president or to the governor requesting something. So it is not unusual to write to a third party in certain situations. Is that right?
Absolutely not. I had students, when I was Pastor at Resurrection, write to Larry Davis, and I had, while he was in prison, and you know, so it's rather ridiculous.
Okay, so she's first year teacher. All of her evaluations were excellent.
Top.
They were excellent, and this is the one sticky point in her career. And from what I understand, that the board, the people that's deciding what's going to happen to her, are black. It's a black town, and the board is black. What's the problem?
I know you're joking and being devil's advocate. The board looks black, but racism or white supremacy controls, and you know the way it goes. That's like saying it couldn't be racism as a black police officer.
So you're not giving them an excuse because they're encircled by whites.
No.
But these are black people,
Yeah.
and they need to make the decision that's in the best interest of our people.
But I think well, I hope they do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make it in the interest of white supremacy.
Okay. Second point. It's come to our attention that well over 2,600 prisoners that were arrested by the Baltimore Police Department from 2012, literally until the present, until about April, were systematically came in either through use of force by the police department, broken arms, visibly bleeding, traumatized, what have you, and 123 or more, they said had bleeding from the head and were not totally conscious. Were brought into Baltimore's Department of Correction. Can you explain or justify how the police would not know that this person needs medical attention?
Well, they figured he's black. They didn't need medical attention. And of course, they were hitting their own heads against the police van.
Oh, they did that to
police.
themselves?
Yeah, they did that to themselves. And that's
2,600.
yeah, right. and that's why the Baltimore PBA could say that those 6 cops didn't do anything wrong. Because it was a black man. And they didn't do anything
Okay,
wrong.
well, does police have training? Do you think that, because police officers are not doctors, do you believe that they have enough training where they could discern that this person needs medical attention?
Oh, no. You need special training if you see somebody bleeding. You need a special training to call for assistance, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just criminal. And these folks, I remember when they said Gray ran from the cop. Well, that's typical in Baltimore. Black folks run from the cops. Some of them are criminals, maybe, don't want to be arrested, but the vast majority is fearful of what will happen if the cops catch them.
So you're saying that they are pre-existing thoughts relative to if you get caught, what's going to happen,
Exactly.
whether you're committing a crime or not.
If you get caught, you may visit the Undertaker.
Okay, good. Now, I'm just wondering, in that context, if these police officers have a history of doing that, and also you have a history of settlements, where Baltimore has been experiencing, in the last couple of years alone, over $5.7 million in settlements. Can you explain why those police officers in question that caused these injuries, there's nothing in their folders reflecting that? In other words, there's no history that you can attach yourself to that they did it, yet the city settled. But what happened to the history, so you can look to their folder to see good cop, bad cop? What happened?
Well, the city was very generous and just wanted to give some black folks some money out of the generosity of their hearts. But these folks immediately should have been fired and jailed and gone to trial.
Now, when we study ancient Kemetic history, we see stories of pharaohs and scribes actually writ down things that they did during the day, whether they went here, whether they spoke to somebody, whether they helped save someone. So these are records. And we look all through, thousands of years of ancient Kemetic history, they are records. Why isn't there a record of police officer A or B that did such and such to prisoner A or B?
Well, they're supposed to keep a log themselves anyway, so their books must have gotten lost. And of course, the powers that be have no intention of giving you their history because they want to keep them on. Because like the PBA said, they did nothing wrong. They simply either kill or hurt black folks.
And so is there some collaboration intertwined with management in the highest levels of the police department? If the lowest levels of police officers, there is not documented history of excessive use of force, is that done somehow without the chief of police, the current chief, Batts, knowing that?
Well, he knows it. He's a good boy. Not only the chief, the mayor has to know it. And there has to be collusion with the district attorney and the judges. They were all involved in this.
Wait, but we talking about Baltimore. You describing Ferguson.
No, I'm describing
Baltimore?
Not just Baltimore. I'm describing the United States of hypocrisy and New York City.
So you're saying Baltimore is not exceptional?
No, there's nothing unique about Baltimore. Hey, we live in New York, don't we?
Yeah, well, the fact is, New York it sets the tone for the entire country. But
Donovan just got elected to the Senate.
that's correct. That's correct. And Donovan, for those that do not know, he's the former, I say former because I guess maybe somebody else has stepped in his place now. He's the former district attorney from Staten Island, the one who studied long and hard and came to the conclusion that that there was no reason to go further in the Eric Garner trial.
Well, when you look at the vast majority of police and fire who live in Staten Island, there was no doubt that Donovan was going to be elected. I mean, it's Crackertown.
Right. And and he obviously he didn't launch a vigorous prosecution or investigation into the killing of Eric Garner. So when they didn't come back with a true bill, that was to be expected.
Yeah, because he didn't want a bill. If the district attorney wanted a bill, in any case, he will get or she will get it.
Okay.
If you don't get it, it's because you don't want it. Who was it? Charlie Hines of Unhappy Memory. Remember his remark? The district attorney could indict a ham sandwich.
Right. Well, yeah, he copied the words of Cy Watley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's look at, tell me why, staying with Baltimore for a second, there seems to be a lot of contention with State Attorney Mosby going to a Prince concert. Is that somehow a dereliction of duty that she went to a Prince concert and went up to the stage, by the way?
Yeah. You know, that's just smoke in your eyes. That has absolutely nothing to do with her judiciary talents and her taking this case. They will use anything. Maybe she had on the wrong pair of shoes. They'll use anything.
Yeah, but I've never heard of anybody from a prosecutor's office going to a concert. She might be the first one.
Well, that would be a blessing. That means she's not as ignorant as the vast majority if they haven't been to a concert.
And she went up to the stage, by the way, and this is a sister that certainly has her ducks in line. This is a strong sister, very intelligent, that comes from a family of police officers, mother and fathers, police officer, grandmother and grandfather, police officers, aunts, uncles, police officers, and certainly it all helped in the way she lined things up. And so if they want to try to claim in some way that she's presidential relative to police officers, I'd say good luck with that, because she was birthed by police officers and loves them, and her grandfather started the Black Police Association in Massachusetts.
Well, that's probably why they hate her, because as far as they're concerned, she's a traitor. You know, they couldn't use the police thing, the bias against police, when you look at her family background. So that's why now they're talking about a concert.
Yeah, and they also said that a person who contributed to her campaign, who's a lawyer for the Freddie Gray family, he contributed to her campaign, but he pointed out that the FOP contributed to her campaign.
Yeah, that's what I was
also
going to say. Yeah, the fascist order of, the fraternal order of police contributed too. So,
well, and just a little secret: FOPs and PVAs contribute. Don't tell anybody. They contribute to all Black elected officials' campaigns, because that stops Black elected officials from, I'm saying this so only you'll hear it, so that they won't be able to prosecute other Blacks. So what they do is that they contribute, $5,000 to all these Black elected officials, and in turn, Black elected officials get real quiet when there's an excessive use of force. So there's a payment already. Even Don King contributes to the PBA and to the Irish Fraternal Order. So, so many have done that, and yet that's just a secret between me and you that no one knows about. That's just me and you that know that secret. Let's go to, speaking of teachers, let's go to Stone Mountain. Mary Gordique, she made a statement. She said she made a mistake and was bringing the auditorium to a close at a graduation ceremony, and so she was ending it too soon before the valedictorian spoke, and at that point, people started walking out, and she screamed the statement, "Look, the blacks are leaving." Now, she didn't point out anybody else was leaving. She said, "You guys are being rude," and screamed out, "Look, the blacks are leaving."
Yeah.
Was that racist?
Of course not. And you know who the valedictorian was, right?
No.
A black kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So these folks, don't care what they look like, they serve white supremacy because their careers depends on kissing white butts. And so why would you?
Okay, but she went on to explain. She said she's not racist.
Of course not.
She said she's not racist. She said that what was she supposed to call them? African Americans? She said, what am I supposed to call them? African Americans? They weren't born in Africa. What's wrong with calling them black?
Well, why did she have to point out who was leaving? No white folks left?
Now, it's interesting that one of the students were interviewed, and he said that she's always disinterested if anyone tried to approach her or say anything to her, that she was always mean and nasty. He also went on to point out that he was, on one or two occasions, he was late with his what is it called when you're paying money?
Tuition.
Yeah, tuition. He was late with his tuition, and she pointed out when she caught up with him, he had just paid his tuition. She said, "Well, I noticed you were 3 days late, but I see these new shoes you got on. I see what your priorities are." Basically, pointing out his shoes, and you know that at a new school year, kids like to wear a new pair of shoes or a new pair of pants. So why would she be pointing out his attire and juxtaposing that with tuition?
If he didn't pay the tuition, I could see some justification, but he paid his tuition, so his shoes was none of her damn business. But of course, she's not a racist, because there are no racists in America. Are they still?
Yeah, but was she right saying that he wasn't born in Africa, so why should she say African American? She said she didn't say the N-word. She said, what's the problem?
Yeah.
I didn't call him the N-word.
That's right. That's true. She's just totally ignorant, too.
Okay.
Because I guess she thought that these folks just fell off the moon, that they didn't have an origin and a history, that they came from Africa.
Okay, now, speaking of racists, your friend, your good friend who you defended is back in the news, George Zimmerman. He was supposedly shot, according to reports. He was shot, and neither has been arresting him or the other white guy he was in the incident with. Now, I think he went by the guy's job, and I don't know what jumped off after that. But this is a person who's been threatening people with guns. He assaulted a police officer years ago before Trayvon Martin. Of course, he killed Trayvon Martin. In my opinion, he murdered him in a cold-blooded fashion. He has threatened several girlfriends and put guns to their faces. And by the way, he still has his gun. Just tell me what you think of him and that incident with him and this other white guy.
Well, I think he's just a thug. And
white folks are not thugs. That's reserved for blacks.
No,
thugs.
He's a thug. And secondly, could you imagine a black man first getting a license to carry the gun, and then secondly, after Trayvon Martin and all these still has his gun?
Wow.
It's amazing. But white supremacy.
Only in America. Only in America. Still has a gun.
The Christian country.
Now, tell me something. I got two other things for you real quick before we go to the phones. Are police officers under attack in America? Because we've had recently, a couple of days ago, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 2 police officers were killed, and certainly in Queens. A week ago, a police officer was killed more, and as we know, several months ago, we had a killing in Bedford-Stuyvesant. So, and then in another state also, I think it was I forgot the other state. There was police officer with these new rash of police shootings. Is our police under attack in America?
Well, you know, they tell us that the police know that you're getting a dangerous job. You have, okay? All of these were killed by criminals. We are being killed by those who we pay to protect and defend us. So it's a whole different ballgame. If there's anybody under attack, it's black folks, particularly black young folks. Our criminals, they understand now that the police are trigger happy. And in any confrontation with a criminal, you're going to say, I'm going to get you before you get me. And that's understandable because of the trigger happiness of police officers. Non-criminals, I think, if you African American and you're encountering police, you got to be, if you especially if you are in a position to defend yourself, you got to start thinking about that, even if you're not a criminal, because they are killing us.
Okay, they're asking this question nationwide, CNN, MSNBC, and all that. Are police officers under attack? Let me just say for the record that no police department is under attack anywhere in this country. First of all, they would not allow that. America would not allow that. The FBI would not allow it. CIA would not allow it.
The military would?
That obviously, yes, even armed services. They would not allow it. So the police officers are not under attack. Are there certain tensions that have arose more than usual? Absolutely, and justifiably so. When you look at whether it's Eric Garner and you look at going back to Sean Bell and all that in New York, and when you see what happened in South Carolina and so many other places, certainly it's heightened in Baltimore, what happened in Ferguson, so many places. I mean, look, if you forgot all of that and you saw what happened to Tamir Rice, a little boy playing in a yard right across from the Children's Center, and he's outside and the other children are inside, and police officers roll up on him and they shoot him. It was like target practice. Within 1.2 seconds or something, they're shooting him, and yet in their report they claim that that they told him several times to drop his weapon, and they were told in advance it's probably a toy weapon, but just go and answer the call anyway. They let them know he was a little boy and that he might have a weapon, but in all likelihood it's a toy. And this is what it translated to. So no, police officers not under the attack. If anything, the relationship between the police department and blacks have been hostile at best, and there's been a reign of terror that goes back 160, 170 years, because their goal is to control and intimidate the black community, not allowing us to live like everybody else. And one quick thing before we go to the phone.
I just wanted to add, it's primarily the white media that is asking this question.
Absolutely. Just real quickly, we go into the phones. Just give me a brief answer. You said something about Obama is now allowing oil drilling.
Oh, yes. Just yesterday, Obama indicated that he's supporting Shell, of all companies, because remember what they did in Nigeria, Shell Oil Company to begin oil drilling along the Alaskan coast.
Okay, well, let's keep that in mind. At this time, we're going to go to the phones. First caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? We can't hear out here. Is there a call on the line?
Kareem Long, Brother Mike. How y'all doing?
Fine, brother.
Yeah, but I just want to say, brother, it's a whole lot of our people is under attack, brother, by the racist society. That's what it's really all about. And you hit it right on the head. And I'm sick and tired of these house liberals jumping up, talking about all these good cops. Where the hell is it at? If it's all these good cops, why aren't they standing up and saying something about the people who are murdering black people and their police force? That's what I want to hear. And another thing, all these crooked politicians up in Albany, which is making all these different policies, which our people are experiencing all this shit. It goes back, like you said, 500 years, longer than 170 years. And they're going to keep on doing the same thing. I want to give my hat my hand and say that our young people are doing what they're supposed to do. They're waking up, and it's about time, and we got to stop these people from killing our people. And the only way to do it is a life for life. Peace, brother, and y'all take care.
All right, peace. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Good afternoon.
Yes, where you calling from?
Calling from Harlem.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
How you doing, my friend?
Fine, brother. Always good to hear from you.
Good, good. You know, as far as Baltimore's concerned, you know, there's another case going on where the same attorney for Freddie Gray's family we recently won a $44 million suit against the city when his client was slammed, his head was slammed into the wall of a holding cell, and he was paralyzed.
Wow.
The city is yet to pay out on that. Second, there's also another officer in Baltimore who attempted to report corruption on the police force, and what he got for his trouble was no backup on police calls and a severed rat's head on the top of his car. Third,
Yes, I heard about that.
I also heard this afternoon that there will be no indictment in Madison, Wisconsin, against the officer that shot the 19-year-old racial teenager in Madison, Wisconsin. That officer will not be indicted. It's also interesting to note that the district attorney, he's biracial, and they have a law in their state where an independent investigator is brought in to investigate all deaths occurring under the hands of the police. And lastly, the person that George Zimmerman
Yes.
should get 25 years for missing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No doubt
All
about
right.
it. Yes, sir.
Have a good day, brother.
All right, take care. Always informative as usual.
You remember that same thing happened to Serpico.
Right. And what he's pointing out is that a black officer who wasn't going along with business as usual will not receive the backup, and that's always a critical problem when a black person stands up and does what principally he's supposed to do and be a protective of our community and have a love and respect for our community and will not just disrespect blacks in the presence of whites. So if we just say to the brother, stand strong. One caller called about it last week. They didn't know her name, but it's Carol Horn. She was the black police officer in Buffalo who stopped a police officer from beating up somebody who was already handcuffed and restrained already, and he continued beating and choking that person. And when she stopped him from beating the person, he turned around and beat her in the presence of other police officers, and they didn't stand up for her. So we should be mindful and salute all black cops who stand up for our community.
Not too many. Just, you remember in the Tony Byers case, the young police officer female who told the truth of what. But my point is, when all of these good Negroes, including, talk about, well, the vast majority of them are good, well, where are they? If we could only point out an individual here and an individual there, then apparently the vast majority are no good.
Well, they terrorized her and ran her out of the police department,
Yeah.
as you well know.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that individuals, they're few and far between. But the whole, if you're going to tell me 90% of the police are good, then I think we wouldn't be having this. 90% would be coming forward, not just one.
Well, yeah, you can't use the majority of the cops stay within the law when you get 700 stops in 1 year. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, where you calling from?
Yes, hi. My name is Frida, and I'm calling from Harlem.
Okay, good. Quick question or comment?
Well, my quick question is, I was wondering if you could take a moment to talk to the audience watching right now. You have parents who might be home, grandparents who are watching, and what they can tell how would you prepare young people? It's warm outside. I've already seen in the community police throwing young men up against the wall. How do young people arm themselves with information of how to exactly handle interactions with police that can cost them their life? Because my concern is always that the first thing they should be mindful of is how to walk away from this interaction with their life.
Okay,
And
let
how
me.
to also, after that, protect their own rights.
Well, that's an excellent question. Let me just say real quickly. Call the number 718-455-9059. 718-455-9059. 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. We do workshops all over the city and tri-state area on what to do when stopped by the police. Certainly, your question is a salient one. Most of our young men have a martial spirit. They're strong and vibrant, and that martial spirit won't allow them to act like a punk. And when they are approached by police officers, we will maintain that you follow orders and verbal instructions, whatever they might be. If you believe that there are any violations of the law or you're being disrespected in any way, that's a complaint you can make later. But at that spot, we want to see all young men get back home to their parents. So we would caution you and actually plead with you at that time to avoid a street confrontation, which you are not trained for, that type of combat. And, certainly rapid mobilization of police officers can certainly impact the situation. So I would suggest that you follow whatever is being demanded of you at that time, and then you can make a complaint, not at that precinct, but go to another precinct later and make a complaint with the lawyer, with your pastor, or whatever, at another precinct at a later date, or even Federal Plaza. But do not challenge that police officer on the spot at that time, especially the later it is at night. Do not challenge that police officer. Follow his instructions, because he's allowed to tell you what to do. So let him do that, and then make a complaint later based on, once you speak to your parents and you know what happened, then you can better know what violations was there and make a complaint. But at that time, do not challenge the police officer. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where are you calling from?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Manhattan.
Good. Quick question or comment?
Yeah, Mike, just 3 quick questions. I'm stunned that you haven't mentioned this situation in Mississippi. Why is that? And B, do you think those guys in Mississippi, they should be killed? And C, did you go to the funeral of the cop last week, and you think that his killer should be killed?
Okay, let me just try to remember all 3 questions. I guess this is in reference to Father Lucas, it's your fault, because I asked you were police officers under attack, and I guess you didn't answer the way that he wanted the question answered. We have gone through many visuals as well as funerals. As a matter of fact, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, we had the visuals in Bed-Stuy for the 2 police officers that were killed. And
Did you go to the funeral? That's the question.
No, I didn't go, but we had members that did go. So,
but as a former cop, hold on, hold on. Obligated to go?
Hold on. Not only I didn't go, but we've had members who have gone to funerals. But your greater question is to what happened in Mississippi. Mississippi is handling what happened in Mississippi. The 2 police officers were killed in Mississippi. Don't ask me as if I'm supposed to explain.
I'm talking about the criminals. Do you think they should be killed? As simple as that.
No, I think that they will have their day in court, just like Palantelio in Staten Island and those other police officers. They should have had a day in court, and I believe that those whether it's Sean Bell, I believe that all of these police officers, I think that in Baltimore, Freddie Gray, I think they should be in court. I think all of them. I think that all of them that kill people unnecessarily should have their day in court.
Did you go to the funeral of Eric Gardner?
Eric Gardner, he deserved to die.
Okay, then you're just a pig, so let's get to the next one.
Okay, well that only shows you
Yeah.
the sickness of white supremacy.
Yeah.
We thought he had some intelligence and we gave him time to demonstrate it, but we'd be waiting here probably till tomorrow for him to say something intelligent. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello,
Yes.
am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'm from
Where you calling from? Okay.
The Manhattan Green Party is organizing a workshop on police community relations.
Mm-hmm.
Or would your group be interested in being on our panel?
Call that number.
What number?
718-455-9059. 718-455-9059.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Brian from Harlem.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Go.
What is the position of 100 blacks in law enforcement regarding the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services recommendations and strategies to raise the age of juvenile jurisdiction from 15 to 17 in New York State?
We have not taken an official position, but if you can give me some specificity, I think that certainly I do not believe that at 14, 15 years old, that a child who's not fully developed should be charged as an adult. I think that adult crimes are adult crimes and that adults should be with adults and children, if they are detained, should be with children. So we have a lot of problems with, and New York State actually set the tone for the entire country, by the way, relative to child laws and federal laws. It's basically were established here in New York State and went throughout the country, but we do not believe that children should be charged as adults in certain situations because it's totally unnecessary and it's spilled over to seeing little girls in elementary school, second and third grade being handcuffed by police officers and teachers. Actually, the brain trust of America, teachers are actually calling on black children because they look at black children as so violent that they end up making calls for police officers as opposed to a guidance counselor or the principal or some way. So it's totally unnecessary. The whole system needs to be scrapped, and we need to have our elected officials do something while they're holding these offices. They need to do something. Next call.
I just want to point.
Information regarding this topic?
Oh, go ahead. There is no instance when a child should be charged as an adult.
Right. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Am I on?
Yes.
Oh, how you brothers doing? Once again, y'all have y'all finger on the pulse of the issue. But I'd like to make one comment.
Now, where you calling from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Okay, good. Brooklyn, good.
Okay, Brooklyn in the house.
All right.
I just wanted to let the family know that on Thursday, May 21st, at the Cotton Club, the Friends of Automatics and the United African Movement will be commemorating 25 years of Attorney at War has been barred from court. And we'll be having this celebration at the Cotton Club, 656 West 125th Street. Get ready to be keynote speaker. I just wanted to put that information out there to the community.
Okay, what do you mean barred from court? What are you talking about 25 years?
Well, he's been barred from the court when he's not even, alternative medics not allowed to practice. So I'm using the word barred because that's what they did. They barred him from the courtroom.
Was he convicted of any crime?
He's never been convicted of any crime. He's never been held in contempt. None of his clients have ever filed a complaint against him. So I understand there's been actions from legislators who actually put this whole thing into place. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe former Governor Mario Cuomo signed off on this whole thing.
Okay, so you're saying that actually Attorney Maddox did not receive any complaints from clients. He did due diligence by them, but the complaint actually came from a legislative body.
Exactly, legislative body.
And you're saying that in essence that no crimes have ever been committed, there was no contempt in court, and he's been systematically removed, something that's never been done, and that you're saying that everybody listening should support his reinstatement. So on the 21st at the Cotton Club, there's going to be an acknowledgement and fundraising for Attorney Maddox so that he can again practice law. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And give the date and time again.
11.
Give the date and time again.
The date is Thursday, May 21st. The time is 7 to 11. And the place will be the Cotton Club at 656 West 125th Street. And
That's the village of Harlem? That's Harlem?
That's Harlem. Cotton
Okay.
Club is Harlem.
Okay. And that's one of the only black owned businesses on 125th Street.
Definitely, Brother Beatty is one of, and he's hanging in there because there's not a lot of black businesses in Harlem. And if you look at Harlem now, they're all around him trying to grab that spot. So we definitely need to support this tribute to Alton, and we need to also support Brother Beatty up there holding on to the Cotton Club by a thread.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? I don't know. It says our board is full.
Hello?
Yes, where you calling from?
Calling from Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Okay, I guess that's Brooklyn. Go right ahead.
Of course it's Brooklyn, Michael.
Go right ahead.
Goodness gracious.
Judy. Go ahead.
Hey. Come here. Anyway, I want to, Father Lucas, anyhow, the caller that called
She's Catholic. She's Catholic, Father Lucas. Go ahead.
Okay, you're right. I'm trying to say it.
Go ahead.
The caller that called and made that comment, that male person that I think doesn't look like Father Lucas, nor you.
Okay.
And said, did you go to that police officer's funeral? And you were trying to answer, and that's not what he wanted to hear. So it sounded like he wanted to really berate you and belittle you.
Yes.
And I like the way you handle that. Father Lucas, you didn't try. Anyhow, when we do that, in my opinion, that we continue, Michael, you need to continue, and you do. You teach me. But you need to, as well as Father Lucas, tell us the truth. I know you're on television, and there's some things you just can't say. And I accept that. But if we are going to be honest and teach the people that was like that caller that called before, they're just ignorant and they just don't know, don't want to know, don't give a kitty. With regard to what it is you feel, what you think, and what you are protesting. Okay?
Okay.
And that's all I want to say. I wanted to say something else, but Pat got me a minute ago. And so if we're in the Cotton Club, Thursday, May 21,
yes,
it will be exactly what those of us who do attend is letting Attorney Alton Maddox know that we do appreciate what he's doing. And there could be a few more of us that might, but those of us that attend will carry the ball, and then the rest of us will come out of there knowing what it is we need to know to carry on and be able to address people like the one that called a moment ago. Okay?
Well, you have to remember that some people intellectually are challenged, and certainly he didn't sound like a professor. He sounds sort of like something related to his caveman roots. So you just let him talk long enough to expose himself. So that way you don't have to really say anything. You just let him talk enough, and where you can see where he's coming from. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Harlem.
Go.
Well, I basically want to say, y'all brothers handled that particular caller just right, because the PBA narrative is that because they have stopped stop and frisk and things like this is all a culmination of stop and frisk. When in fact, even before all this happened and whatnot, during the advent of cops and robbers, police have shot criminals and criminals have shot police. I'm not saying it's justified, but being that they want to politicize the situation, if a person isn't critically thinking and whatnot, if people are led by their prejudices and things like that, they'll think like, oh, there's a war on police and whatnot. And they want you to buy into that and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that black folks keep their eyes open and don't let the white media and the PVA and other people
That's right.
which perceive and whatnot.
Well,
the fact of the matter is, whether there was a Sean Bell or Eric Garner or whatever, police were getting shot. Just don't let nobody tell you what to think. See for yourself. Y'all stay up.
All right, and thank you. And, that's just cognitive dissonance when he has an inability to process certain types of information. So, you just have to feel sorry for him. Next caller.
I just want to say the brother said stop on frisk. It hasn't a stop. They just give it a new name, broken windows.
That's right. Next caller. Let's try to get one more call in if we can. Okay, I think they killed all of the calls because it was full just now. But we're wrapping up. So, Father Lucas, let's get some closing comments.
Oh boy, ignorance. But of course, I was happy for that jerk who called earlier, because folks now understand or should begin to understand what racism, aka white supremacy, is all about. And when he had the audacity to say that Eric Gardner should have been, after asking you, I asked him, did he go to Eric Gardner's funeral? And what did the slob come back with? He ought to be killed. So that shows you where he's coming from.
Well, certainly, I would just say that in closing, that this is why we're here. Certainly, the stakes are high. We have black women that are being killed, not only black men. We have children, like the child in Detroit, 6 years old, who was killed by white folks. This is going on. It's a continuing narrative all throughout the country. Our sojourn in America, as one caller pointed out, we have a 500-year history of being under the constant attack of white supremacy, and therefore our challenge is to organize, to be aware of who our enemies are, and embrace our friends, and in that process, we'll be made better. Let's remember Sister Betty Dobson, 31st Family Life Center in Queens. We want to thank our producers, Nat, Veronica Kitt, Nat Wood, Veronica Kitt, and all those who've been helping us over the years. We thank you for all things. Reinstate Automatics. And again, let's just stay strong and not be distracted by callers like that or people like that. We're bigger than that. Peace.
Let's face the music and dance. Soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune, and then there may be teardrops to shed.